Okay, as far as how Frederick Douglass felt about the financial success of his book, and the critical success of his book, he loved it. He loved it. It was that book that enabled him to meet his wife, and to really bond with her. It was, and I also see that the financial and critical success of his book led to him encountering many women that he was able to explore. He was able to have sex with, because I'm seeing Frederick Douglass, celebrating, feeling like his wishes are for, he's like, hey, I finally gotten what I wanted. I've gotten an audience. I've gotten a platform. I did it. And I'm the talk of the town. So many people are really listening to me. And here it is that these women are paying attention to me, especially white women. And Frederick Douglass did have a deep affection for white women. The Queen of Discs here is his wife, and his wife felt that is the second wife. So the second wife felt that because of the financial success of the book, that she's like, hey, I'm securing the bag too. I'm helping him I'm helping him to continue his legacy. I'm really contributing to this man's greatness. He's so, he's so resilient, and I'm proud to see that he is, he's achieved his dreams. So Frederick Douglass felt that he felt like one of his missions in life was accomplished. Perhaps the biggest mission in life was accomplished, because he's like, I learned how to read, and then I wrote this amazing book that white people read, and it receives it's receiving critical acclaim, and it's getting me a tremendous amount of attention. And I'm saying here that that's what he had always wanted. He wanted to have a platform to be heard, so that he could change the narrative around he could change the narrative around African American intellectuality, African Americans. Uh, uh, he also wanted to use his platform to speak accurately about African American culture, and he also wanted to highlight the evils in the white community, specifically with the KKK wanting to the KKK, and then Southern states not wanting to withdraw their interests from African American slavery, and also trying to lynch African Americans as well. So as far as the financial and critical success of his book goes, he was happy for it, and it also gave him the opportunity to meet all these women that he could have sex with as well. Okay, so now we're gonna ask about, what did Frederick Douglass get from his meetings with Abraham Lincoln? Because we know what Abraham Lincoln got from his meetings with Frederick Douglass, but what was on Frederick Douglass's mind when he met with Abraham Lincoln? Frederick Douglass thought that Abraham Lincoln was an idiot. He thought that Abraham Lincoln was an idiot, plain and simple. Now, Frederick Douglass wouldn't say that out loud, but he felt that Abraham Lincoln was someone that said out loud that he cared about certain things, but his actions didn't show that at all. And he also felt that Abraham Lincoln, he's like, I don't think he's really that smart. I think that he's smart in terms of economic policy, but other than that, I don't see him as particularly brilliant. And when he met Abraham Lincoln, he was underwhelmed by Lincoln's charisma. He also felt that Lincoln was hiding his feelings behind a very wide smile and trying to be pleasant. But he's like, our meetings didn't really we never really arrived to a solid conclusion about what where or what where are white people going to go once African Americans start advancing themselves. If you if you help African Americans out, and you allow for these people to grow and grow themselves and grow their communities financially, socially, and religiously, where are white people going to go? Are they going to be willing to stay in these communities? Are they going to be willing to integrate themselves into the communities? Are they willing to assist? And that was never clear to Frederick Douglass from his meetings with Abraham Lincoln. And so he was also feeling like Abraham Lincoln didn't want to say that he just really didn't care for the plight of African Americans. He felt that he was very much, trying to save face. And in addition to that, Frederick Douglass felt like, at the end of the day, I had a meeting with him. I said what needed to be said, and I hope that, it marinates on Lincoln's mind, but he didn't think Abraham Lincoln was that smart anyway. So he wasn't particularly optimistic about what Abraham Lincoln had been promising, because he's like, it just seemed everywhere. He's like, African Americans are going to do really, really well in this new, under my presidency. Frederick Douglass is like, how? And Lincoln is like, well, they're just going to do really well. We got a lot of good things coming. And there were no specifics. There was nothing specifically spoken about what to do to help these people. And Frederick Douglass could easily come up with policies that would help the white community and the black community, but it was saying that Lincoln was intellectually slow and not genuinely interested in helping Frederick Douglass to strategize advancing race relations between whites and African Americans. Okay. So what did Frederick Douglass know about Abraham Lincoln's death? Well, he saw it coming. He saw Lincoln's death coming from afar, because he's like, I think that they're going to kill him because he's definitely, Lincoln is definitely, playing both sides of the fence, and he doesn't want to. He doesn't, he's teetering the line too much. So he knew that Lincoln had, he kind of sort of knew that Lincoln was going to die, but he knew it intuitively. I definitely know that it didn't shock him that Abraham Lincoln was killed. He actually saw it coming because, again, Abraham Lincoln chose to be lukewarm rather than, as hot or cold. And being lukewarm was the equivalent of being cold for, the white community, and the white community killed him. And so Abraham Lincoln, he also felt that Abraham Lincoln was going to, and this is what I'm hearing during the Civil War. He felt like Abraham Lincoln was too busy trying to oppress the South, and trying to show that, hey, I'm very powerful. I'm the North. I'm the president of the United States. And it was more about his ego than he felt that Abraham Lincoln was fighting for his ego and the reputation of the North more so than he was fighting for justice for African Americans, justice, and also he didn't feel that they were genuinely. He didn't feel that Abraham Lincoln was genuinely trying to unify the North and the South. He felt like Abraham Lincoln was just using brute force to get the Southern states to unify themselves with the North once again. The Card for Power is saying that he saw Abraham Lincoln being usurped from the throne. It's kind of like, he predicted it. He's like, I saw this. I saw this happening. It doesn't surprise me. This isn't the first time that white people have taken out, allies or, people that claim to be allies. So he didn't know. He didn't have secret. Frederick Douglass didn't have private information about Abraham Lincoln's death, but he did at least know that Abraham Lincoln was going to die. But again, Frederick Douglass was very intelligent, so it was kind of like a common sense thing for him. Okay, so now I'm going to ask: when Frederick Douglass saw his slave master on his deathbed, did it give Frederick Douglass closure? What was Frederick Douglass's first marriage like to a black woman? And then what was his second marriage like to a white woman? When Frederick Douglass saw his slave master on his deathbed, he kind of like it gave him like a silent chuckle where he's like, ha, 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 ha. But at the same time, he felt like it did bring him, but it was but short lived because Frederick Douglass didn't, he wasn't someone that tried to wallow in immaturity, and because immaturity was an abyss for him. But I get the card for victory and strife together. The arithmetic of these two cards is saying that Frederick Douglass, on one hand, he felt like it was giving him closure, but on the other hand, he felt like he didn't really get to know his father. He's like, you're my father. I love you. And here it is that we finally get to meet one another. We're having a pretty decent time with each other, and we can't really bond. We don't have enough time to do this. The moon is saying that he was completely disillusioned by seeing his slave owner on his deathbed. And he wanted to take care of his father. But he's also saying, like, if I take care of him, this could be a form of slavery. At the same time, if I don't take care of him, what type of son am I? So he was internally conflicted, yes, but he at least got closure because he was able to show him, here's what I've done, here's how successful I've been. Since I've been free, this is what I've been able to do. These are the things that I wrote about, and these are the things that I wrote about you. And it was kind of like his owner had apologized to him for the things that he had put him through, but at the same time, I'm saying that the owner's heart was never in the right place. Okay, so the owner was still racist, and Frederick Douglass knew this, and there were things that the slave owner didn't completely understand about Frederick Douglass's success. The owner was proud to know that someone from his plantation had gone on to, become this public icon, but at the same time, the owner felt like he's like this little black boy, this little Negro boy, like, I can't. It's a form of cognitive dissonance where he wants to appreciate Frederick Douglass for, coming to check on him because nobody had been coming to check on him. But at the same time, he's begrudgingly grateful. He's begrudgingly grateful because he can't overcome his racism and just accept that, the person that really cared about you is the person that's the most successful from your plantation, but it's also your son. Now, Frederick Douglass walked away with a sense of inner peace from this meeting because he's saying to himself, I did the best that I could. But Frederick Douglass took that disposition towards a lot of things. Once he's like, I did the best that I could, and it's up to the other person if they're willing to change or if they're willing to meet me halfway. Nevertheless, from the meeting, Frederick Douglass did get his closure that he needed, but at the same time, he did want an admission from his slave owner that, tell me who my father is, and also tell me who my mother is, and that was never made apparent to him. He never got confirmation on those things. So, what was Frederick Douglass's marriage to his first wife like? Okay, so his marriage to his first wife was actually not that good. He felt like his wife was very stubborn, and he felt like they needed to be together for the purpose of having a solid 2-parent household. He wanted, and they did business together as well, and because of her, he became wealthy. But beyond that, there's not much love. There wasn't much love in this relationship. It was more of a business partnership, more about them having a companionship with each other and really feeling like this is my feeling like this is my soulmate in terms of business, to help me to build the family, to help me to grow in this particular economy. They were really good friends to one another, but they struggled to be intimate with each other. And Frederick Douglass felt that his wife was a stubborn person, someone that they didn't share a common goal for changing the world. They shared a common goal for, building their family, a common goal for, paying the bills, and a common goal for, supporting Frederick Douglass in his own career endeavors. But he also felt that Frederick Douglass also just felt very much like he and his wife were put together for the purpose of having the children and raising the children. Not so much he didn't feel like this was an intimate union between the two, between them. There were times where he felt like the relationship wasn't going to work. And there were times that he did feel like walking out of the marriage. At the same time, I'm seeing that, they had a really, really good sexual relationship with each other. And I'm also seeing that she was more attached to him than he was to her. And she drew a lot of her personal strength from him. So what I mean by that is the days that she didn't have the energy to feed the kids, to cook and clean and prep, she knew that she had her husband on her side, and that's what gave her an extra boost of confidence and an extra jolt of energy to get through her day. Okay, now I'm about to ask, what was Frederick Douglass's second marriage like to a white woman? Okay, so Frederick Douglass. Okay, here's the wife coming up again as the Queen of Dis. So earlier in the reading, she did come up as the Queen of Dis. Here she is again. So the wife, the white woman wife, felt like she could be. She felt like she was. She felt like she could use her whiteness to help Frederick Douglass's mission. She's like, I can get you in the door with these people. I can make you. More profitable and more palatable to the people that you want to change. She really loved him, and she loved him because she felt like he was somebody that she's like, he can do anything, because she's like, he came from being a slave to being, a best-selling author. This is amazing. That was an amazing thing for her because she has like this hipster energy about her, and she loved him. And he loved her. He felt like Frederick Douglass felt like this relationship was the end all be all. Like, he's like, I've waited for a woman like this. I waited for a woman like you, and I want to, you're now a part of my family, and we're gonna stay family with each other. Now, I know that his children, I know this as a historic fact, that his children didn't like the second wife at all. Nevertheless, Frederick Douglass felt like, he's like, God brought you to me, and she's like, God brought you to me as well. And they shared they were intellectual companions to one another. They read a lot of the same books with one another. They wrote speeches with one another. And another reason that he liked her is because she was incredibly submissive. She would pretty much do anything that he said, and but she did have her own opinion, but she never argued for her opinion. She never argued or demanded. She never argued with him when he said that he had his mind made up, and she never demanded that he listen to her or do things her way. Instead, she gave her input when she could, and she just mostly focused on trying to build a love relationship with him, and to keep them bonded to each other. So for the both of them, it was like a love triumphs all. Love trumps race, love trumps our backgrounds, love trumps love trumps these other women that are also trying to pursue me as well, because I'm seeing that that's one thing that she did not try to. She tried to turn a blind eye towards that. She was this second wife tried to ignore that Frederick Douglass did have a lot of women wanting to experience him in the bedroom. And finally, with the Knight of Swords, is speaking specifically about it's speaking specifically about a lot of Frederick Douglass's ideas that he had, and he was able to successfully implement, were because she motivated and encouraged him to do so, and she was also trying to support him through, trying her best to support him through it. Whether that was, being physically there for him, writing, constantly writing letters for him, doing some of the actual community organizing for him, and then letting him take credit for it. Nevertheless, they both felt like this relationship that they had with one another was one that God had ordained, versus Frederick Douglass's first wife, where he felt like they were put together for the sole purpose of having their children, and then working as a 2-parent household, because they would be able to, have, 1.5 income. It's like, I have my income, and, my black wife, she doesn't have an income that's as steady as mine, but she helps to rear their children. So all things being said, Frederick Douglass loved both of his wives for 2 very different reasons, but his second wife, he felt like that was, she was the one for him, and she was the one person God made for him. Thank you for tuning in to the reading produced by Black Spectrum Network. Click the subscribe button and the bell button to get the latest updates on this channel. You can purchase a private psychic reading by going to blackspectrumnetwork.com. If you want spiritual guidance to learn how to work with your ancestors, or you're interested in deepening your spiritual experiences, subscribe to our Patreon. You can get these and other videos at least 1 week ahead of their YouTube release date. That's patreon.com/Black Spectrum Network. Before I go, I'll leave you with these words of wisdom from the rapper Dreezy. Gave mercy to these hoes. What would Jesus do? I'm your reader, Negzo, and the truth is always collaborative.
So fuel my fire, take me higher, I'll be your liar too. 'Cause when we're here